Athletes from all over the world share a remarkable bond. No matter where they come from or which sports they dedicate themselves to, they are all driven by a powerful why. For most, it's not about fame or wealth. Only a rare few reach that level. Instead, they are fueled by a deep passion for their sport, a love for discipline, and an unending desire to push their own limits. From early mornings to grueling workouts and countless sacrifices, athletes are guided by an inner drive, a commitment to excellence that goes beyond personal gain. They don't just compete, they inspire, representing dedication, resilience, and an unbreakable spirit to be at their best. This is shared why connects them, creating a global community of individuals who break records, push boundaries, and show that greatness happens when passion meets purpose.
Thank you so much for taking the time, because I saw your profile and then I went to check and I was like, that's crazy what she's doing. And it's just an incredible story. And I really wanted to take the time to get to know about you and where you're coming from, and why did you decide to dive into alpine skiing and then becoming you flying as well. So it's a whole journey. Can you maybe start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, my name is Dominique Gisin. I'm from Switzerland, born and raised in the Alps, I guess. My parents moved a lot when I was little, so it's a bit hard to point out where I'm from. But now I call Engelberg my hometown. It's a little town close to Lucerne. I used to be an Alpine skier till 2015, an athlete on the World Cup circuit. And I am Olympic champion in downhill skiing 2014.
Wow, that's amazing. And yes, it makes sense. You lived by the mountain. I mean, this environment where you're coming from, can you define it already? How does it look like where you're coming from?
It's a beautiful question. How you said that, it makes me go and pop up so many images: cold, white, the smell of winter. We just are heading into autumn, and I love it. I'm weird. Most people love springtime, right? When the flowers pop out, and I love winter. So first snow to me, since I remember, was always like, yeah, I always fell in love in autumn. So this is my environment. This is where I'm from, and this is really, what I love most: the cold, the winter, and everything attached to it.
Amazing. So you live by the mountain. You grew up in the mountain, right? You are surrounded by the mountain, les Alpes, right?
Yes.
And is it like obvious, or for many people? I live in the Netherlands, so there is no mountains there. There is really the highest here, 400 meters. I don't know. So there is no mountain, and I always, every year I go to holiday in Haute-Savoie, next to Les Alpes. My mother lives there. And we can see the nature changing, when we come, and then we see, these mountains, and, so it's a completely different setting. And so you were very inspired by that. Like, you didn't feel like, I have to get away from this place, like it's too overwhelming. The big mountain.
No, quite the opposite. But I imagine I feel the same that you explain when I go to the sea. I mean, I love to be at the sea for maybe a week, but then I miss the mountains. I'm not, I mean, I could live in plenty places on this planet, but I could not live somewhere without the mountains in sight. That would be, I would really have trouble. I would feel really bad. I think the longest I was away from the mountains was 2 weeks. And after like 10 days, I get physical pain. I miss it so much. Yeah.
So when does your passion started? At what age? How how did you grow up? Did your parents take you to
Yeah,
in the forest, or how did it all started?
my parents love skiing, but they're actually from what we Swiss call the flatlands,
Okay.
which is like Basel region, so close to the German border.
Hmm.
But they love skiing, so they put me on skis when I was 1.5 years old.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
my very first childhood memory is skiing. So it was my first love, the biggest I had so far. Still is. Don't take skiing away from me. That's the worst you can
Oh.
do. I think it runs in the family. Like my granddad used to say he would, when he could not ski anymore, he would die. And he skied until he was like 79, and then he broke his leg. And
Oh.
half a year later, he got cancer and died. And I
Wow.
think it would be the same for me because,
Okay.
yeah, it's
That's
just my life. I don't know. It's crazy.
amazing. That's amazing. So you started skiing. Did you go to ski school? Because in this region, every children they have to learn skiing, right? It's part of the. It's
Yeah,
all.
I mean, I have a little one now. She's 2.5 years old, and
Mm.
of course, we already skied with her last winter. And people that are not from the mountain, they're like, "You are crazy! It's too early." But come on, I mean, here in the mountains in the wintertime, all the playgrounds are closed. It's just full of snow. So either you go out and you build a snowman, or you go with the sledge, or you go to ski. And I always take the sledge and the skis with me to go to the little kids' hill.
Mm.
She never wants to go on the sledge, so we ski. I mean, it's like
Wow. Yeah.
that's pretty, and it's pretty normal. It's
Normal.
not just
Yeah.
me. I mean, we have a lot of kids that are the same age like my daughter, and they all ski. Yeah.
Yes. So you
There's
went.
really nothing else to do here.
Yeah, well, it takes a lot of time, and also it's like a discovery because there is a nature environment and yourself. So how did that this passion grow for you? Because you made it like your work, being an Olympian. It's a dedication. So how did you move from, okay, I follow the mainstream. Let's say it's part of,
Yeah, in the
and
mountains.
yeah, being in the mountains and to being a professional or going for competitions. How did
I
you?
mean,
What was the moment?
I think it was really from the beginning a big passion.
Mm.
Is really what I remember the most from my childhood. I always hated summer, much more as a kid than now. Now I got really used to it and I start to like it a bit. But when I was a kid, I wanted to have 12 months of winter if I could choose. I just loved the cold and the snow. And then I was skiing just with my parents. And then, of course, in the town where I grew up, they had a ski club. So I said, I want to go to the ski club. And then I started to ski and to do little races. And I won one of the first races I attended. And I was still a rookie, with like ski pants and no suit. And like my parents had no idea about alpine skiing. I
Yeah.
mean, as a competition sport, they
Mhm.
loved sports, they loved a lot of things. But as I said, they were from the flatlands. So of course the other kids, they had suits. And I still won this race. And I think as a kid, if you love something so much and you realize, I'm actually pretty good at that, right?
Mm.
It augments the motivation extremely. And I think what was an additional factor was I was a super nerdy kid, and my favorite class was maths, which is weird, right? I mean, nobody liked me in school. I had no friends. No, it's true. I mean, I was just a nerdy kid that loved maths, and I was always good at school, not because I learned much, but just because yeah, I like numbers and it's easy for me. I'm just
Mm.
born that way. It's not
Mm.
something I can brag with, but
Interesting. Yes.
but then it was like also a social factor because when I skied and I was in the ski club, I was just one of the kids that loved skiing and skied good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was not standing out that much in the ski club as I did in school, which is funny enough, I guess. But for
Yeah.
me, that was an additional factor for sure.
So that's so interesting because you felt that there you can be undercover.
Ah, yeah, it's a bit crazy, huh? I know. I mean, but it was really like that, and I had all my best friends till today are former skiers. I met in this world, right? It's just socially for me, it was a more accessible world than the normal world.
As a normal woman. Yeah. So what kind of children were you confronted with at school? Just
Just normal kids. I mean, they did nothing wrong, but I was just weird. I mean, I studied later on physics and I saw the kids that were like me. They were 15 years old, they skipped 3 classes because they just had a different wires in their brains and
Mhm.
they were all socially awkward. And I was the same. I mean, I still am a bit, so
That's so
I
interesting. That's so interesting because most of the time we always focus on the children who are, let's say, troublemakers,
yeah, yeah.
and but there's all kind of profile and all kind of intelligence, right? And
And
so,
I think kids can be so brutal, you
mm,
know. And if you don't fit in, and you never fit in if you have a brain like that.
now as a
Yeah.
child, it can be quite traumatic. So the sports, the skiing, you went and then you started doing competition. So did you specialize quickly in alpine ski? Can you take us through the journey? Because and also what is it about alpine skiing that is so different from other?
Yeah, I think skiing is a very traditional sport in Switzerland and Austria,
Mm.
and everywhere else, it's not that well known. But for us, it's the biggest sport, okay?
Okay.
But I'm well aware we are a small country. So I think alpine skiing is, if you look from the outside, it looks a bit funny because actually you don't do much. The
Oh,
accelerating force is the mountain, is not you. The power that is driving you is gravitation, is not your body power, which is already a big difference to many other sports, right?
mhm.
But that's also probably the thing that makes it very tough because no matter how hard you train, the force that is accelerating you will always be stronger. I never saw somebody jump from Earth and land on the moon, right? So um, that's why we get a lot of injuries
Okay.
because
So can you
the,
explain us the process from what is it you go up and for
yeah,
people
exactly.
who
So the
don't
gondola brings
understand?
you up. The tough work to go uphill is done by a machine. You don't do anything.
Yeah. Okay.
And then all you do is go down the mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's alpine skiing. Cross country skiing is completely different.
Okay.
I did that for training for leisure, but never as a competition. And it's like two completely separate worlds. It's like track and field and swimming.
Oh,
Like
okay. Okay.
it's
Mhm.
really a different world.
Okay.
So cross country skiing is you do your own body force and you move through the terrain, right?
Mm-hmm.
But alpine skiing is you go up the mountain with a machine, with a gondola, and then you ski down. And we have four disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
So the first is downhill, is just straight down the hill. So if you compare it to swimming,
Yeah.
that is freestyle. Just go as fast as you can, right?
And then there's the
Then
chronometer. Someone
yeah,
counts
it's always who is the fastest? Who is the
fastest.
fastest?
So there
Yeah,
is a speed element. You have to use the gravity to gain
yeah,
speed and momentum.
yeah. And then you just play with gravity. That's all you do. I mean, what your body does is handle gravity to turn around, like you have gates and you do turns. So in downhill, it's pretty much straight down the hill,
Mm-hmm.
and you just turn where there is a natural, pretty much like where the hill goes, if there is a cliff, of course you don't jump down the cliff, something like that. And there are gates, but the gates are pretty much just the natural terrain. So the downhill, if we go, for example, to Val d'Isère, Val d'Isère, is every year pretty much the same run because the gate is almost at the same place. You cannot really move the course. And then all other disciplines, the turns get shorter and shorter. So downhill is just downhill, straight downhill. Then Super G, you do turns. You do some turns with gates.
Yeah.
Then giant slalom, you do a lot of turns.
Yeah.
And then slalom is you do as crazy many turns as you can. So
did you do all of them?
I did, when I was a kid, I did mostly slalom and giant slalom, which is classic. Kids races are just slalom and giant slalom because the speed is much lower.
Yeah.
It's like in World Cup on the highest level, you do 60 to 70 kilometers per hour in slalom and maybe 80 to 90 kilometers per hour in giant slalom, which is already fast, but is nothing. You can handle that.
Yeah.
And then Super G is 100 to 110, and then downhill is 120 to
that's crazy.
Ladies races 140, and the men's go up to 160 kilometers per hour.
So which one did you specialize in?
I first did slalom and giant slalom, and I already got my first big injury when I was 14. Yeah. And then I was very unlucky. My doctor, he just made a mistake with my surgery, and I had 4 very complicated knee surgeries as an effect of the maltreatment, which was just unlucky. But it pretty much destroyed my whole knee. So my whole quadriceps was ripped out, the muscle was done, the patella tendon was gone, the kneecap was done. So just crazy, lots of injuries. And why am I telling this? Because later on, when I came back from all of these injuries, I missed 3.5 years of competition. I was already old. And in skiing, what is a bit crazy is that after every racer, the slope deteriorates. That's why the starting order is pretty much the world ranking.
Oh.
So the best can start first because then the slope is the best.
Yeah.
But this makes it very hard to get to the top because you start at the bottom and you start with the last bib, which is already a big disadvantage.
Yeah.
And usually you have these 3 years when you become from the kids to the adult. And then when you start to be an adult, it's like at 16, you have 3 years to do baby steps in the world ranking.
Yes.
Because with every race, you get a bit higher. If you do good, you are a bit higher in the world ranking. So you can start a bit more in front. Like in the beginning, you have bib 135, and then you have bib 90 something, But I didn't have those 3.5 years. And that forced me to do downhill. Because in downhill, you just go straight down the hill, and that hurts the slope much less. So the disadvantage of the bib is pretty much nothing, or let's say not really a factor. So you can still win the race with the last bib. So it wasn't really a choice I made. It was really forced on me through the injuries, and it was actually the only chance for me to break through the top. Yeah.
That's so interesting because injuries it's another story of resilience and going through pain, Why did you go on? Why did you decide to
very good question.
Because this injury was quite heavy.
And it was several injuries. I mean, it was all connected to the first one because my knee was so weak, but it was also crashes, and then the knee just exploded because it was so weak. The injury was much bigger than it should have been if it was just a normal crash.
Yeah.
So it was on one side the physical pain and also just the amount of rehab I had to do, and on the other side also the mental pain because it's kind of scary, you know.
How old were you when you got that first
Um,
injury?
14,
At
the first
14.
one,
Yeah,
yeah. And when I was 19, I already had 5 knee surgeries.
5 knee surgeries.
Yeah.
So you basically spend your time at the physio.
Physio, hospitals.
And
My
what
mom
how
as a
did you feel
tax.
about that? Like, di- why did you just do something else?
I just loved it too much. I mean, for me, this was my life. It was all I always wanted. And of course, after every injury, after every surgery, the first thought was, oh, I'm gonna stop. This is not worth it, right? Because I'm also human. It's not that I thought, oh, fun, another injury.
Yeah.
But then after a couple of days, I already started to miss skiing. After a month, I barely could sustain it without skiing. So
Oh,
it's like my life fuel. And I mean, when
so
I was 19, I once even retired because I just had so much pain. I mean, enormous. I don't even want to tell how much painkiller I took back then. And
oh,
it was a mess,
really?
okay? It was just a mess. And I said, come on, this is it, this is going nowhere. And I stopped.
Mm.
And the hard part was I was even more miserable after I retired, you know? And after 2 months, I was like, so I didn't even know how to get up in the morning anymore. And I realized the pain I have in my soul and my heart, if I can't ski, is so much bigger than any physical pain you can give me.
Wow.
And honestly, that was like the breaking point because when you experience that, then after any surgery or injury that comes, of course, in the first moment, you're like, I don't want to continue.
Yeah.
But then you remember that moment when you were so miserable and you're like, piece of cake, I'm gonna make it. Let's just continue.
Ah, yes,
So this
I really
was
can relate to
really
that.
something that formed me or
I
that.
can relate so much. So many people outside of our world, it's not easy for them. I got 4 major injuries, and I went back and back and back and back. And every time I'm gonna make it to the Olympics. I was always dedicated to my dream despite of injuries. And it's kind of madness. It's really what we call mad skills, also. Like this
Yeah.
intrinsic motivation that it's coming, it's deep, and you don't know how to find it. It's only you have it. But many elite athletes, we share that.
Do you know what passion is called in German?
No.
Leidenschaft. And if you would kind of translate it for the word,
Yeah.
Leiden is suffer. So it's like sufferness.
Okay.
And that is it. I mean, you just love something so much that you are completely, yeah, you're completely fine with suffering for it. Honestly, that's it.
Yeah, that's
That's
so
it.
impressive. So now you when you were 19, you just came back, okay? You came back, and what did you do after that? What was your game plan? Because I can imagine that with time you gain a little bit of experience and maturity, and you start thinking strategically, how I'm gonna perfect my craft, what I'm gonna do. So did you start
Absolutely.
thinking that way also, or what did you
Oh,
put in place?
completely, completely. I mean, I was so out of any options because, like, all the normal paths, I kind of had no more chance to jump on them. Like, no way. I was 19. All of my former teammates or competition I had as a kid, they were already in World Cup. They won Junior World Champs. They were super good, and I was like nowhere. I was like thousand something in the world ranking, you know.
Mm,
And I was like, okay, so the only chance I have left is to do downhill. because there I have no disadvantage of the bib. So let's do downhill. And I was in this team with this coach, which allowed me to train with them. And he was he's such a great guy. And he just saw something in me, I don't know. And he allowed me to do my crazy trainings because, of course, I could not train like the others. I could not jump, I could not run, I could do maybe 4 or 5 runs a day on the skis because then I had so much pain that I couldn't do it anymore. It was a mess,
That's
and
so he
and
saw
then
your motivation, like
yes,
he
I don't
saw.
know. He saw something special, and he was still letting me train with them. And he said, "Hey, let's do downhill." Okay, so we did like 2 or 3 days of training. I was scared like crazy because this was so much faster than I ever skied, and I already crashed so many times. But then I knew this was the only chance I had.
Oh man!
So we go to this race in Cortina. Where they have a World Cup, and then after the World Cup they do lower level races because it's super hard to do a downhill course. It takes a lot of effort because it's so long, and that's why they always do a lot of races if they have one prepared. So he said, yeah, you watch the downhill on TV, then you know how the course is going to be. It's just going to be shorter, of course. And then I was there at the inspection, and I had so no clue. I didn't even see where the jumps were, because if you come at 140, a little bump like that will make you jump.
Yeah.
But if you never did 140, you cannot even imagine that a little bump like that.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. When you say 140, you mean 140 kilometers per hour?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did this because it's such a dangerous sport. You are always allowed to check out the track, but just side slipping, with no speed. So you go out, you watch, where do I have to go?
Yeah.
Where are the turns? Where are the jumps? So I did the whole inspection, and I was at the finish, and I tell this coach, I say, but this is not the same course like on TV. And he said, why do you think? And I'm like, there are no jumps. He's like, you didn't see where the jumps were? I'm like, no, there are no jumps. He's like, well, you're gonna see where the jumps are.
Oh, you didn't see them at first.
I went off, and then, of course, I had the last bib, and I helped even the other athletes of the team to put on their skis and stuff. We had no stuff with us, and so I helped them, and then they all went down, and I had the very dead last bib, so I had a lot of time to still change and everything. And standing at the starting gate, they were a bit confused because they thought, what the hell is the physio gonna run down the hill? Because before I helped the other athletes, and they saw me do that.
Yeah.
So I had a bib, they let me start, and I crossed the finish line, and I got second. And from there on, it was like crazy. The girl who won the race was a World Cup athlete that caught immediately the attention of the World Cup coaches. They sent me to the Junior World Champs. I got fourth there. Then they sent me to Austrian Championships, and I won the Austrian Championships before all of the World Cup athletes.
Wow.
So in 4 races, I got from, as I said, 1,000 something to 35th in the world ranking. And then they got me into the World Cup team. Euro Cup team first. But I was so fast in the summer that they sent me to the World Cup team. And then I was so fast in the trainings that they said, hey, let's do World Cup. So the 5th downhill of my life was a World Cup, like highest level competition.
Oh my goodness.
I clocked the fastest time in the first training, and it was crazy. I did 5 top 10s in the first World Cup year. I got 5th at my very first World Champs. And I honestly, if I look at the races from then, I'm scared to death. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have the body, of course, because it was a mess after all the injuries. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just going fast like crazy. And if I would see an athlete do that, I would say, you know what? Let's just trained first for like 3 years or something. But I was so dedicated, and I mean, it was my only chance. I had the knife here, it was like my very last chance to make it, and I just went for it.
Okay, let's ask the real question. The real question we ask ourselves at the end when the curtains are closed, and it's not more about showing why did you do that? Like, did you need to prove someone wrong? Were you looking for appreciation, belonging? Like, why now, years after that, were you so passionate about pursuing this age, even though you knew it would cost you a leg or more than a leg?
Yeah, I mean, it could have cost me in my life, honestly. I mean, but I think, and it's easier now to answer this question after retirement, because it's the same question, what do I miss the most?
Mm.
And in my sport, for me, it's the rush. I mean, the feeling you get when you go down the hill at 140 and your body is just doing perfect execution, that's irreplaceable. Just to do something on such a level, for me, was incredible. And I think for me, this life goal to have something like a North Star was so important. And I probably, with all of the injuries and the many times I asked myself, do you really want to do it?
Yeah.
Do you really want to have this pain? I kind of really got myself into this fully, no questions asked, this is the only thing I want to do with my life mentality, which in retrospective, I grant you that, is kind of scary. I mean, even a bit freaky. But back then, I think it was the only way I could go through all of these injuries, also through all of my social awkwardness and not belonging, with that one thing in my life that I kind of said, okay, but that's worth it for. Does that make sense? I had nothing else. And I'm not saying I had no other options in life. I could have gone to university, whatever. But for me, emotionally, this was the one thing that helped me up, this perspective of being an athlete and having the opportunity to just execute something at the highest level. And every day, and I still miss that. I mean, back as an athlete, I never had to ask myself, why the hell do I have to get up today? It was always clear. I knew exactly why I got up. I knew exactly what were the goals. I knew exactly why the hell I was doing it.
Yes.
Even if in retrospecting, the why is kind of weird.
No.
But back then, it was just so clear.
Yeah.
And I mean, with my kid, it changed. But before I had a kid, I missed that so much. Like, nobody cared if I would get up in the morning and go to study. I could basically sleep in for a week, and nobody would even notice. And honestly, I don't even know if that would have made any difference in my life for myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So from the outside and from the inside, to have such a strong motivation is such a gift in life, or it was to me. If that makes any sense.
Yes, it makes completely sense, and it's true. So many people, they work like zombie in their work, and they really don't know why. They have to survive or to thrive financially, and that's it. Yeah. So that's really amazing. You are translating this to your daughter. How do you said it's different. So how does motherhood is impacting you as, I mean, in French, we always say les chiens ne font pas des chats. So It means like most of the time what we do as a mother, our children they follow. Um, how do you feel about that? What are the important lessons that you take away with you?
Oh, so many. But I think for me, motherhood is the biggest responsibility I have, or I feel like that.
Yeah.
I used to be very scared of it, honestly, and sometimes I still am. Like I'm like, oh geez, what the hell am I doing? And um, I think what helped a lot. I mean, how is it now again easy to stand up in the morning? If you have a kid, you never ask yourself, why the hell am I standing up? It's very clear why you're standing up. You know, that's what I mean. And then I mean, she's she's such a gift. And what helped me a lot was when she was born, the first minute they placed her on me, and I still feel she is the same person. And for me, that was crazy. That a baby has a character right from the start.
Yeah.
So the whole pressure I put on myself that I have to, you know, be a good mom, be a good role model, whatever, is a bit, not entirely, but is a bit gone by the fact that she is a person from the very start. And yes, I can be a good role model and can try to show her my values,
Mm.
but she still is her own person.
Yeah.
And I mean, she is a person, okay? I mean, you cannot force her into do anything that she doesn't want, like no chance, no chance, um, no chance. You cannot believe how stubborn she can be. She can be stubborn for hours, okay? So, and this makes it hard sometimes, but also very easy because I'm like, come on, this is not my doing.
No, you were not well.
You
A
are the
little bit,
person.
right? You were also a little bit stubborn in your passion.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
But
But
this,
no, she's and I think what for me is important as a parent is that I let her do as much as she can.
mm,
So we say sometimes kamikaze parenting.
yes.
People around me, they think I'm a bit crazy, but we both believe that whatever doesn't kill her is a very valuable lesson for her. So I let her climb up whatever she wants. I just get in if it gets really dangerous or if she asks me.
Yes.
And then I just I try to surround her with as many different aspects of life as possible,
Hmm.
because I just think this world has so many facets. So yes, of course we do sports with her. We go skiing, we go cycling, we go swimming, we make her go climbing and all of the things we
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
of course. But then I also try to expose her, like my sister-in-law. She is very creative and she does a lot of painting. And the best I can do in painting is a physically correct sun. This is like my specialty and nothing else I can paint. Okay, so I try to give her as many aspects of life. We have other friends that are like very musical, and I just hope only hope I have is that she finds something.
Your journey with your daughter is very important because as women and athletes, being pregnant, the body change, and it's kind of also a moment of breakthrough, because we realize, oh, but there's more than this. For me, that was the case. I was just like you. I was so crazy with my sports, and I was so also delusional, that I could come back. When people would tell me you're not gonna come back, I was like, yes, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna make it. And but I was I asked you the question: do you really think that you had no one to prove, like you were doing that because you loved it so much? Because most athletes at the end they realize, yeah, actually my parents put me there and I really wanted to please them, or I had no choice than to thrive because I come from a poor family, or so there is always these stories on the background, and my story is on the background was that I wanted to prove people wrong, and
Yeah.
I wanted to belong and to prove
But this is a
wrong.
strong motivation. This
Well,
is a strong motivation.
no, but at
But
the
I
end,
think,
for me, not. For me, it's not a strong motivation because for me it is what has not allowed me to unleash my potential because I was not in the flow. I was not relaxed.
yeah, I understand.
So yeah.
I can imagine. And I think it depends extremely on your personality. For me, that wouldn't have worked. I don't, well, I don't, I like values, but I I don't stick to principles for the sake of principles. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I also I don't see sense in always nagging about people's mistakes, or like if somebody does something against me or does me wrong,
Mm.
I forget it within 2 months or something. I don't see any
Amazing.
sense
Yeah.
in beating myself up for something that somebody else took to me. Does that make sense? It's
Yeah.
not even because I want to be social. It's just because I don't want to waste energy on people that don't do me good. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for me, proving somebody wrong was not a motivation,
Mm.
because is a waste of energy. If some people, everybody, maybe even my parents, honestly, they never told me, but the situation I was in,
Mm-hmm.
I had no chance, no chance. This was not even being mean or like if people told me, come on, do something else, this was reasonable. you know so why should I prove somebody wrong who is reasonable? I mean, that made, in my story, it made no sense.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the
Yes.
motivation was really
Mm.
the love of skiing. And I mean, even my teammates would make fun of me because I was the one athlete who, whenever we had 2 days off, you know what I did? I went skiing. When we went to vacation, like everybody went to the beach, I went powder skiing in Canada. This is just the biggest passion I had. When we trained on the glacier, it was super tough training, 3,800 meters above sea level,
Yes.
already tiring,
Mm-hmm.
doing a sport which is like super exhausting.
Yes.
We finished the training. Everybody else went back to town. And I had a little depot, like a little secret depot for my freestyle skis. And I went into the park skiing. I was that crazy skiing person. Oh my.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. It's you and the sea and the snow.
Me and the snow is a love story. It's a big love story.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But pretty one-sided, I must say. But
Well,
no, it gave me
oh,
a lot of joy. It gave me a lot of joy, and still does. Still
still,
does.
yeah. You're not competing anymore.
No, I retired in 2015, so 1 year after the Olympics.
Yeah.
Um, it was the perfect moment to stop for me. I reached my full potential.
Mm.
I could have maybe pushed a bit further in giant slalom, like in the more technical, like slower
Mm.
and more technical disciplines, but
Slower.
the team,
Giant
yeah, a little
is
slower.
150 or something.
Yeah, exactly. But the team didn't want that, and I understand. I mean, I don't want to. It's hard to explain why you put the downhill Olympic champion into a technic team. And then when they didn't give me an option, I didn't have the energy left, or I didn't want to take the risk to do it by myself, without a team and spending all the money I earned on this one crazy final goal. So I retired, and then I went into a completely different world, studied physics, went for flying. And that was amazing for me. I accompanied my sister on her path to 2 Olympic gold medals. So the whole part of
Your
what do I
sister?
pass on? I have a sister. She's 9 years younger than me. And
Okay.
she's also a double Olympic champion, which is crazy by itself.
Wow. In the same sports as you?
Yeah, in combined different discipline, but also alpine skiing.
Amazing.
So this was really great. And that also answers a bit your question about what do we want to keep on as a legacy, what do we want to give to the next generation. I was able to do that to the best to my sister, which was beautiful. Just to have, all the skills we acquire, we build up as athletes, are very valuable. I don't want to put that in doubt, but the main skills are pretty useless in your day-to-day life. Like, I guess, to run super fast, do you really need that in your daily life?
Well, it's a way of thinking also. Like,
no, of course,
take risk, and you have to calculate very fast.
Absolutely, to think fast, to adapt fast, to learn all of the side, and I call this side effects. These are super valuable, but to me, is not the main goal of being an athlete. This is what happens if you become an athlete and you become a different character. This is super valuable.
Yes, that's what I mean.
But the core skill you were building all of these skills up to, in my case, it was skiing down the hill at 140 kilometers per hour. In all of my life so far, and I'm very certain that also in all of my life of the future, I will never be in a job interview and say, by the way, do you know about my mad skills going down the hill at 140 kilometers per hour? I'm 100% sure you never saw that in your company, and this is an extremely added value to your company. I'm totally exaggerating.
I think it's crazy. It's a crazy, crazy skill because, let's transfer it to the market. What does it mean? Like, hire someone with such a crazy go mindset. Like, what does it mean?
No, of course. And I don't want to, I know this is a bit bad to put it that way. I don't want to downplay the side effects.
Yes, really.
They are extremely, and I live from that. Today I live from passing on my knowledge, my experience to leaders, to companies. And I think this is very valuable because obviously 10 years after my retirement, I still get a lot of jobs for that.
Yes.
But what I want to say is that also this core skill of going down the hill at 140 km per hour for my sister had an extreme value, this knowledge, And for me as a person who put 15 years of her life or more, it was basically 20 years of my life into that skill, only into that skill, all of my life into it. And you know what? I still feel this is the biggest difference between being an athlete and having a normal job. Having a normal job is you do your job. Sometimes you go the extra mile. Being an athlete is your life is your job. And I'm talking about how you sleep is your job. How you eat is your job. How you rest is your job. Every single second what you do is your job. And this is the biggest difference, right? And you will never have that in a company, never. Even if you're the CEO of whatever, you will have little islands that are not your job because nobody cares about some little aspects in your life. Honestly, and this is maybe something we never talk about, but your love affairs in sports are part of your job. And we don't think it through. It's part of your job. Yeah. Who the hell? And I don't want to go further into that, but this is true. It's such an aspect of your health, is such an aspect of your energy, etc., etc. And this is something I felt very strongly as an athlete, that every minimal second of my life is part of the job, right? So this is a big difference. And to have this core skill, being a value to somebody else, for me was beautiful. And that this other person was my sister was just the icing on the cake. And then to see her like soak up all of the information I gave her like a sponge, right? I mean, this was choices of line, very technical things. Then it was a lot of life things. And as a sister, it's much easier to talk about that than as a coach. You know, I knew much more about her life than any coach would ever know. So my role was not being her coach, but just trying to help her with all the things I just told before, like the small things. Like in the beginning, it was also very technical, but then of course, after 2-3 years, she had more experience than I had. She was better than I ever was. I mean, she did things I could never do. And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful time. I'm thankful enormously that I was able to do it. It helped me a lot to get through all of the emotions of retirement, because it was very tough on me, which is, I mean, honestly, how I told you about my career, I should have known that retirement will be tough. I mean, if you love something so much, this was the hardest breakup of my life. And it took me more than 3 years. And to be able to pass on my knowledge, my experience about all of life as an athlete to my sister, this helped. Definitely. And today now we talk about side effects, and I don't want to downplay the side effects, but just to make this distinguish, does it make sense, you know, that it was even more valuable for me to pass this on to an athlete, to a skier, than what I do now, passing it on to companies, to also athletes, but maybe from other sports, because a lot of things are very similar as we talk today about. And I think this is very valuable. The values of sports, if we look at the most idealistic idea we have of professional sports, are very valuable. We should not forget about the very, very dark sides of professional sport. How to prevent that, how to maybe make this crazy job life or life job a bit more human. And what I'm especially stressing about these days is a lot of people say, well, this new generation, they don't train the way we used to because we were so tough. And honestly, what I see is in all the sports I'm watching, except maybe for tennis, but now it picks up again. Sorry, I love Roger. We are obliged to love him as Swiss. No, he's just the best. And I still miss this generation of tennis players, but this is just a little side mark of myself. No, but what I see in almost all of the sports is constantly and continuously world records being broken. So don't tell me they are not better, because we have it black on white that they are. And even in skiing, where we have no world records, and I did the math and I did the analysis, you take a run which is skied every year, like for example Cortina, where the Olympics will be held this winter, and you look at the video and you look at the timings, and what I see is only 10 years from my retirement, they are faster and they do more turns. So combined, they are just better. Are they training harder? I don't know, but definitely they're training smarter because they are better. So what I see is they have much more data, especially in sports that are not that well scientifically followed, like skiing, because it's hard to do research on skiing because it's cold. It has a lot of vibration. All of the instruments don't work. It's much easier to do science on track and field. You have much more labor kind of environment. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easier. So we had a very lack of science in skiing, which is now picking up. So every year they know more. They know what they really need to train, what is making them faster.
So you think that the new technologies are like taking over, or helping athletes improve? Because you said you transferred to physics, but do you also become interested in the different tools that are used to progress, to measure, to track?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a tech nerd, right? So I loved all of that. I loved the whole analysis part of the game. Maybe a bit too much. Maybe I was sometimes a bit overthinking. But what I just see is that we have more and more data. And I can just talk about my sport, but I see a progression towards professionalism, which is, if you watch at it closely, extreme. Like, it goes so fast. And now everything for the kids of today, everything is set up. Like, the school is completely merged into the training, and everything is completely organized. And what I'm afraid now is, and I try to say that a little bit with life job. And this is also something we see in the whole society, or I see in the whole society. Maybe as a tech nerd, I'm more scared about it. But Big Brother is watching you is just reality. So if you have no more islands in your life where you can be an athlete, and let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I can be honest. I don't know about you, but I still had some islands where I was able to escape. And I needed that, okay? Me as a character, I needed that. And I did some stupid things in my career. But fortunately, I did them because it kept me human. And I strongly believe, that only as a human, in congruent to your own character, which is completely different for every person.
Yes.
But only then you can be the very best self.
Yes.
And that is the one thing I'm stressing on wherever I get in touch these days with sports. Stay human. The most advice I give to young athletes is go out and party, okay? Like, they don't do that anymore. I mean, they don't escape that anymore. They are in this constant perfect world. No, but I have to go to sleep and sleep for 20 hours. And yes, you do that consistently. That's absolutely true. But you also have to do something for your soul from time to time. And I'm not saying this is partying for everybody. For me, it was never partying. I was not a party kind of person.
Yeah.
But for me, it was going powder skiing, going into the freestyle area of the ski area.
Yeah.
And what I see, I mean, these young athletes, they only get meals that are measured, that are counted calories on. I would have gone crazy if somebody would have put that on me. Okay, this would have ruined me, not as an athlete, but as a person.
Yeah.
And if you're ruined as a person, you're not going to be the strongest possible athlete.
Yeah.
This is my very strong belief. And it's the only thing that I think is negative from this otherwise very serious. And I'm not saying this is wrong, okay? I believe in science. I think this is a very reasonable way to measure things, to analyze things, to improve. But we need to stay human. And this, for me, is also the goal with my daughter. This is what I talk about wherever I am with young athletes. Because there I see some scary things.
Complex, yeah. That was so interesting. Really, a lot has been said, and we've covered like.
I think so. I talk too much. I'm sorry.
No. Please, I really thank you. We are so fortunate because this experience you've shared is precious. It's precious for athletes. It's precious for people who are working in the company. They also can relate to making your life a job or your job a lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
And where do you find that? By looking in your heart, where is this intrinsic motivation that no matter what you go, because and that's what makes you the most happy person on earth.
Thank you for tuning into Olympians Diary, where we dive deep in the minds of Olympians and uncover the stories, the struggles, and triumphs behind the world's most dedicated athletes. Stay tuned as we continue our journey into the hearts and minds of those who've reached the pinnacle of their sports. You won't want to miss the incredible insights and lessons we have ahead. This podcast was made possible by Jewelbox, the music production studio that keeps our sound on point.